Hi, this is Tom with Gray Mills, and this is the training on the Gray Mills Clean-O-Matic 504-A. Prior to operation of the machine, please make sure that the cord is in good shape. There's no frays, no kinks, no anything. Make sure it's good and clean all the way to the machine. If it's not, stop working immediately, contact your supervisor, get another cord ordered from Gray Mills. We'll get it to you in a couple days because we stock these things.
Sure it's loaded underneath the
Prior to operation, one thing that I like to do is make sure that the valve is in the off position here, and this is in the off position. Basically what it does is it ensures that no fluid will start moving until you tell it to move the fluid. When you turn the machine on, there will be no surprises. If you do that, you'll be surprise free. So, it's full of fluid as indicated by the low and high levels there. To operate the machine, simply turn it on. You'll hear the motor and the green light will turn on. Now, the motor doesn't make a lot of noise, the pump doesn't make a lot of noise, but you will see a little bit of fluid movement down there because when the pump is deadheaded like this, there's nowhere for it to go, so it really just kind of stirs the fluid around a little bit. So, first step in operation, to operate the hydrojet manifold, which is down below, which creates in-tank agitation. So if you have something that you want to clean and just sort of walk away from, you'll just put the parts on the bottom on top of those sludge trays and then turn on hydrojet agitation. What that does is creates a lot of in-tank movement. Because what's cleaning the parts when you put them in fluid isn't the fluid being there, it's the motion of the fluid. And you can see a healthy dose of in-tank agitation right there by just turning that selector to the hydrojet manifold. The next operational step is flush toes with filtered flow. Inside of here is a 40 mesh filter. There is a Wix equivalent that can give you very, very tight cleaning and filtration. 40 mesh is not terribly fine a filter. So what we'll do is we'll move over to here. Now you'll notice that in-tank agitation stopped. What you'll be able to do is if you open this valve here, now you'll be able to get directed flow. So you can take this, point it at your part, what have you. What it also gives you is the use of the flex of this spray nozzle. This one's primarily for rinsing off. I know that you guys like to use brushes. Both of those are used for basically rinsing off or what have you. But what it does is ensures that there's going to be no garbage being deposited on the parts during that rinse off phase, so that your parts are going to be as clean as possible moving forward. Now, if you want to do the best of all worlds, put it in dual action agitation flush, and you get everything. You will get reduced flow here because a fair amount of the flow is coming down here, and at that point you might want to open up the valve a little bit more, but you're not going to get as much. It mostly goes down below. And that's your kind of everything all at once step. Most of the time I imagine you might be just using the flush hose filtered flow, but that's up to you. If you want to get the full Monty, throw them in there. Now I'm going to set it to off, and I'm going to turn it off here because I just want to talk about the sludge trays for a second. The sludge trays down there are corrugated steel, so they basically go up and down and up and down. And those peaks and valleys are important because if you have something really gross and you set it down on top of those sludge trays, what will happen is that all the garbage and stuff will fall off and end up in those valleys, and your part's going to sit proud up on top in the peak. So when you pull that part out, it's going to be as clean as possible. and yet all the garbage will be below. There's some foam blocks that you have that weren't installed before the fluid was put in, and those go in the ends of these sludge trays to act as filters. So when the machine gets drained, the fluid will run out of those sludge trays, but the garbage won't. It'll keep those foam blocks will keep the garbage in. So then you can pull those sludge trays out, bang them in a garbage can or whatever, and get back to work. As for normal maintenance on this machine, over time this filter may become plugged. And the way that you'll see that, the way that it'll manifest it to you, the operator, is when you're using the hoses. Because what you'll see is when you've got the hoses running and it's normally flowing at a nice steady pace, as that filter clogs up, you'll start to see the flow drop, until even if you open that valve full blast, and if you open this valve full blast, you'll know it. I have it, normally I don't run it open all the way. But if you see that flow coming down, typically it's going to be this filter's clogged. So how do you remedy that? First step, have the machine off. And I also like it setting this to off as well. Check your filter, unscrew the nut on top. Make sure you don't lose this gasket. Okay. Handy little shelf right here. Pull off the housing. Now you'll find the filter here. What you'll also find is this cap that goes underneath. Now a lot of garbage will settle in this, because the way this works is it's forcing it up and through this filter. It comes out, the fluid comes up through here, goes through the filter from the outside in, and then goes down through this port to these two things. There's a gasket here, be mindful of the gasket. So there'll be a lot of garbage around the outside of this filter. So when you do pull it out in its entirety like this. Because when you pick this up, all that garbage on the outside tends to collect inside of here. And then you can just take this, bang it in a trash can. Oops. Take this, bang it in a trash can, clean it off, just get all the garbage off the outside, because it's reinforced from the inside, so it won't collapse on itself. Now that you've cleaned that off or replaced it, if you're using the Wix one, those are just throwaways. Just replace this, slide it back down, make sure that everything's hunky-dory here as far as the cap goes. Make sure that's sitting nice and pretty in the middle. Make sure that this gasket is sitting nice. If you notice any rips or tears or you damage it when you're pulling it out, you will want to replace that gasket, otherwise it can become interesting when you turn it on. You'll develop some leaks and some other things. You may not notice it, but it'll be there. Slide that over the stud. Make sure that the housing sits down inside. Make sure you don't lose this little upper gasket, otherwise it'll leak out the top. Spin that on. Make sure it's nice and snug. And that's it. That's changing the filter.